Thank you very much. Yeah, we have a presentation together, Prabodha and myself. We are working together since many years, and I give you a short introduction what Sphera does, so that you see how we also support JSW in the work. And this is mainly done through our Indian office in Mumbai, where they support JSW. Next slide, please. So what is Sphera? Sphera is a global provider on software, data, and consulting services. So with the main focus on environmental health and safety, sustainability, risk management, operational risk management, and product stewardship. I will keep that a little bit short because I think it's more important and interesting what Prabodha has to show. The next slide, please. So we are basically a company, a solution provider, as I said. We have about 1 million single users in terms of software. We have 3,000 customers and 80 countries we are serving in the world, and we have 1,000 colleagues on that end on Sphera on the software side. If you go to sustainability, which is basically on our end, where we are working in the consulting business, we have 250 consultants, and we are in 20 countries in the world where we are based, and one is India. So to show that, you can see here, this is basically the areas and the different how we are basically showing it with the different areas where we have product solutions, which are at the moment re-engineered and going into a cloud that they can communicate with each other. And at the end of the day, it should be all feed into the corporate sustainability software solution, where we get basically with all the other software solution you manage, and the final results you give into the reporting unit. So, and basically on corporate and product sustainability, we work since a long time with JSW together, and Prabodha will also talk about this in his presentation. Next slide, please. So, what we help clients with is basically trying to get through maturity stages. We identified that we have clients which are compliant, efficient, optimized, and leader, and we want to guide them from compliant basis to be a leader. And you see it's all combined with, on the one hand side, on the product focus on the left hand side, and on the right hand side it's on the corporate focus. And of course this is playing one side to the other side in terms of scope 3 if you have product focus, as we heard today a few times. So, and yeah, I don't want to say where JSW is, but you can make up your mind when you listen to the presentation of Prabodha now. Prabodha, please.
Thank you, Jonas, and good evening to all who are listening. I would like to thank Sphera for co-opting JSW to speak in this conference. So in the next 20 minutes or so, I intend to provide you all with an overview of sustainability in the steel making industry and examples of initiative that JSW Steel has undertaken towards low carbon steel manufacturing. So for those who are not familiar with JSW, let me quickly introduce the group here. So among the leading corporate houses in India, the JSW Group is a 13 billion conglomerate with interest in the core sectors of the economy such as steel, cement, energy, infrastructure, and paints. The group contributes actively to environment and cultural preservation, nation building, and social impact projects. So from its humble beginning in steel, the JSW Group is now expanded in presence across India, Europe, South America, US, and UAE. Now in this slide, let me talk a little bit about iron and steel making. Steel's two key components are iron, that is one of Earth's most abundant elements, and recycled steel. The primary steel production process using a blast furnace and basic oxygen furnace, which is commonly known as BF-BOF, is the most common, and that accounts nearly 74% of total steel production in 2020 in the world now. So steel can also be made in an electric arc furnace using direct reduced iron or using scrap. Now, once steel is produced, it becomes permanently available resource because it is 100% recyclable and has a potentially infinite life cycle. This infinite recyclability without loss of any properties and combined with its strength, versatility, availability, and affordability makes steel unique. And there are thousands of different types of steel designed today to meet the specific need of the customer and end user today. So steel is also critical to the sector and technology that will enable and drive green economy. For example, renewable energy, resource and energy efficient buildings, low carbon transport, infrastructure for fuel efficient and clean energy vehicles, and recycling facilities all depends on steel. However, among the heavy industries, the iron and steel sector ranks first when it comes to carbon dioxide emissions and second when it comes to energy consumption. Even if you see from the right top corner of the graph, the steel industry has reduced its energy consumption by 60% since it started in 1960. But still, today, steel industry contribute 7% of total GHG emissions, having 0.7% contribution to global GDP. Now, let me take a little bit to what's happening in India, the subcontinent, where the steel is expected to grow. India is currently the second largest steel producing country in the world after China. So as per the National Steel Policy, which was published in 2017, which we called NSP 2017, that has set a target to increase Indian steel capacity to 300 million ton per year by 2030, that is the end of the decade. And also increase the per capita consumption to 160 kg per person, which is currently at around 80 kg. If you look at the global average stands around 250 kg. So therefore the consumption in India is very low. India is expected to remain the fastest growing producer of steel due to demand growth and expected contraction of steel production in China. So the iron and steel sector in India is currently responsible about 23% of industrial energy consumption, with coal accounting 85% of its total energy inputs. So as a result, the sector is highly emission intensive, contributing almost 1/3 of direct industrial CO2 emissions, or 10% of country's total energy system CO2 emissions. Now, if you look at how this emission and reduction projection is happening, in both the stated policy scenario and the sustainable development scenario as per the IEA, the emissions from Indian steel industries is expected to increase. So the question comes here, what are the mitigation and technological options improvement available for decarbonizing the sector? So like any wider energy system, the iron and steel sector cannot rely on one technology or one mitigation lever alone to make progress on its climate goals. So it must pull all levers that can make a difference. In the short term, that if I tell short term is around 10 years, the largest role is going to play by the technology performance improvement within conventional routes, that is BF routes, and demand reduction through material efficiency. Now, if you look at it in the longer term, emission reductions will be harder to own. And with the need for a rapid rollout of innovative near zero emissions steelmaking technologies, it's not possible. And steel is a hard to abate sector. Innovative retrofit concepts are to be deployed to tackle the young existing blast furnace in India, and also the blast furnaces which is going to be added. The hydrogen-based DRI and innovative smelting reductions with CCU routes takes over when it comes to capacity additions. Now by 2050, near zero emissions route should account around 55% of primary production in India. Now, therefore, I have listed here 5 pillars that the iron and steel sector should follow towards making sustainable steel. And those are basically to have an appropriate sustainability framework and priorities, to remain focused, and also to focus on material efficiency and energy efficiency in the near-term time horizon, work on supply chain, having a life cycle focus, and that's where we are getting exceptionally good support from Sphera. Focus on building circular economy, and keep working on innovative steel making technology, which is expected to be commercially feasible as the time comes, and hopefully by 2035 or 40. Now, if I go back what we are doing in JSW, so we have stated and having a vision to achieve those sustainability vision. We have outlined a very comprehensive sustainability framework comprising those 17 focus core areas which you see in the screen, where we believe we can create a significant impact. So when we developed the architecture and details of our framework, we have taken account of all available national and international standards that already exist across corporate world. And each of the focus area are supported with detailed policy statements. They are reviewed and approved by the board of the company, and those are publicly available. So instead of having a single sustainability policy, we have given focus on each of those, and I will give example on how we are doing on climate change. We have a board level sustainability committee that is being chaired by an independent director to provide direction and review performance, that we ensure that we deliver our strategy and our vision, what we have committed to stakeholders. The sustainability strategy and performance are being annually disclosed through our integrated report that follows major international standards used in the bottom right corner you see, and those are publicly available. All these are assured by third-party auditors before we make it public. Now, as I told, climate change remains as one of the top priority for JSW, and we have focused on climate change mitigation and adaptation, and that remains always top of our sustainability agenda. So we have clear, dedicated climate change policy, which clearly provides what are our commitments, what aims we are trying to achieve in our operations and also in supply chain. We have also included specific prohibitions that we do not want to do in our policies. Now, after having a policy, we have stated, we have set an ambitious CO2 emission target for ourselves to reduce 42% of our CO2 emissions by end of this decade. And just to keep in mind that India's NDC talks about 33 to 35% reductions in the GHG intensity. In the same time, we have set a commitment to become carbon neutral by end of the decade in our quoted facilities. The intensity targets are aligned with IEA's sustainable development scenario. And as I told, it's much aggressive than what India as a country has given a commitment. We have formulated a climate action group, which acts as a central think tank with cross-functional expertise to formulate and drive the climate change mitigation strategy and actions for JSW Steel towards a low carbon road ahead. When we look at the pathway, what we are following is the SDS, and there we are expecting that there will be a significant emission reductions by 2050, with the ultimate objective of achieving net zero not later than 2070. We are part of the World Steel Climate Action member and working on its step-up program, which is a very practical way of reducing the emissions by benchmarking along the top 15% performing in the world. And that is where this decade's actions are going to remain. I'll come back to that. Now, what are the levers available for our decarbonizations? And these are the levers what I've listed here. Till 2030, we have to play with the existing technology, and post 2030, we'll be focused on deep decarbonization technologies. So So our objective is to support energy transition. Our objective is to eliminate use of steam coal by 2030 and replace the electrical energy through complete renewables and byproduct gases that is produced from iron and steel making facilities. We have already started working to add around 1 gigawatt renewable energy in the first phase and plan to have around 6 gigawatt renewable energy by 2030. Now, another example I want to show what we have done. We know that a net zero energy system requires a profound transformation in the way we produce and use energy that can only be achieved with a broad suite of technology. And carbon capture, utilization, and storage is the only group of technology that contributes both to reducing emission in key sectors like iron and steel directly, and to remove CO2 to balance emissions that is challenging to avoid. So a critical part of net zero will be played by CCU. As an early start now, we are operating a 100 ton per day CCU project in one of our DRI operations, where we are capturing CO2 gases from the operations, are being separated, cleaned, liquefied, and being sent for the beverage applications. So we are currently looking at options to scale up and have large scale applications within our steel operations. As I had told, the material and energy efficiency are good starting points. And at present, our CO2 emissions reduction initiatives are being driven through the implementations of all best available technology. Examples, if I give 2 examples, that coke dry quenching, top pressure recovery turbines for blast furnaces. We are also having hot stove waste recovery system, LD waste recovery system, maximize emission reduction for sintering, sinter cooler waste recovery boilers, and use of state-of-art technology such as Corex and Konark that in the steel making. If you talk about any technology that is currently available for steel making that we have in JSW, we have operationalized the largest pipe conveyors to transport iron ore directly from mines, thereby reducing carbon emissions and improving the socio-economic conditions of the people around the road corridors. And we have similar plan now to put a 300-kilometer slurry pipeline in the eastern part of India. We have created a large carbon sink of around 3 million plantations that is capable to sequester around 1.2 million tons of CO2 through systematic afforestation. And in addition, as part of coastal protection and climate change mitigations, we have implemented a program of mangrove restoration at one of our coastal-based operations, where we have planted over 1 million mangrove, and that not only provide direct economy benefit to the self-help groups which are engaged to do that, but also sequester around 185,000 tons of CO2 by this time. Now at JSW Steel, we have always maintained that all products we manufacture are safe to use and sustainable in long term. We not only aim to address the environmental impact of our operations with a strategic and long-term approach, but we also want our products to protect the environment, conserve resources, and to protect customer and end users. In line with our philosophy, we began life cycle assessment studies for all our products and now have covered all our products. And thanks to Sphera for supporting us in this journey. We have done EPD for 2 products, and currently all other products are underway for EPD getting registered. We also have done a type 1 product eco-labeling that is locally called, that follows the Indian program, and that we will extend to all our product as the standards get available. And let me emphasize here that greater focus needs to be provided to building circularity to our business model, and that will greatly help in achieving decarbonization in the entire value chain. And as I stated, steel plays a key role in decarbonizing other sectors. And we need to extend life cycle thinking while developing our carbon management strategy. JSW Cement is an example of state-of-the-art concept of backward integrations and synergic conglomerations in JSW. JSW Steel has current capacity of around 18 million tons of crude steel productions, which generates around 7 million tons of slag. And that is being used by JSW Cement to make green cement that helps reducing carbon emission through avoidance of carbon intensive clinker productions. And by the way, the carbon footprint of JSW Cement is the lowest in the world, and it is less than 300 kg per ton of cementitious material that we are producing from scope 1 emissions. We also have implemented first of kinds plastic injection into electric arc furnace that not only provides a way of fuel supplement reducing carbon emissions in our operations, that also helps a greater cause of managing the plastic pollutions in and around the township where we are working. So thank you very much. I'm available for any further clarifications in the roundtable discussions. I will be closing by saying, as Mahatma Gandhi says, be the change you want to see in the world. Thank you very much. I remain here.